Hello, and welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam, and I'm a real person, and today I want to talk to you about Mario Kart DS for the Nintendo DS. And a few things up front here. Of course, there is a written review that you can check out in the description below. You can see that, before, after, or just instead of this video review. Another thing is that to keep in mind here is that this review is going to be kind of glossing over the basics of Mario Kart. I'm going to assume you already know about the basics of Mario Kart, or assume that you've either watched or read my review of either Mario Kart 64 or Mario Kart 7. Those are the ones where I go more into the depth of the basics. But if you'd like to just, if you already understand it or you've already seen those, then while you're here, and let's just jump right in with Mario Kart DS, and hopefully I remember all the stuff I want to talk about. But again, the written review is always there to cover my ass and any details I miss when I'm talking, so we'll see how it goes. So Mario Kart DS is the second handheld installment in the Mario Kart series, and I believe it is the 5th overall installment in the series. Yeah. And it's on the Nintendo DS, and surprisingly, that's what the DS stands for in the title, is to indicate it's on that system. What a clever idea. And it definitely feels like it comes, in the series where it does. It feels like a midway point between Mario Kart Double Dash on the GameCube and Mario Kart Wii on the Wii. Because it has single kart racers. Again, it goes back to that idea. You have the hop and the power glides with that, but it still kind of looks visually a bit like the GameCube version, and takes a lot more of the skill-based balance of that version, and also has a few touches there, especially in the visuals, a few touches of Mario Kart 64, because a lot of the stuff looks kind of like, it's limited power of the DS making 3D models, so it still looks, brighter, and it looks crisper and cleaner than the Nintendo 64, visuals would, but it still kind of has that similar quality to them, if that makes any sense. There's a lot of stuff to do in the game. Like most Mario Kart games, the real attraction here is the Grand Prix, where basically you just race against all the other racers, and in here there are 2 Grand Prix that you can compete in. There's the Nitro Grand Prix and the Retro Grand Prix. Each one consists of 4 cups, and each cup consists of 4 tracks, so that's 32 tracks in all. There's similar stuff where you're racing against your opponents, trying to get first place. If you get first place overall in a cup, you get a golden trophy, and then you get to, advance. You can unlock stuff by doing those. Generally in any difficulty setting, because there's 50cc, 100cc, and 150cc. Each one is faster than the last and has more aggressive AI. And generally in any of these, when you start off, there's only 4 cups unlocked, 2 in the Nitro Grand Prix and 2 in the Retro Grand Prix. So you'll have to get gold in both of those cups to unlock the next cup, and then get gold in that cup to unlock the final one. To unlock all of them in all of those, and unlock other things along the way, like other racers and other karts, which can change some of your stats up, because all racers have their own inherent stats, as well as the karts adding, their own stats to that. And it actually says the stats, so you can kind of figure out what works for you with your stats and everything. It's something to try and balance out. The thing is that basically the difference between these 2 Grand Prix are that the Nitro Grand Prix is all new tracks for the DS game, and Retro Grand Prix are all remakes of previous tracks that are more or less very similar, just, they look like they belong in this game and they work with this game's mechanics. And each cup actually has 1 track from each of the 4 previous games, so it's, equal representation there. And if you get gold in all of the cups, in all the difficulties, you can unlock mirror mode, which is still in the 150cc speed, but the AI is even more aggressive in this one. And in this mirror mode, it does the thing where, once again, it flips the tracks horizontally, so you have to take the turns the opposite way, just to make it a little bit more challenging than the way you've already memorized the tracks. So it makes you have to memorize them even further. But, maybe you don't want to go through the whole Grand Prix spiel. You just want to race on the tracks or something. Well, then you can go to Versus mode, which is more or less the same, except that you have a lot more options. You just have freedom of your options. Where you still race against all these racers, but you can decide if you want to choose the tracks, or if you want them to go in order, or if you want them to just be chosen at random. You can choose the rules of just, deciding whenever you want to stop to call it the end of that session, or making it based on a certain number of races, and whoever's ahead wins, or making it based on a certain number of wins, and whoever hits that first wins overall. You can change the difficulty, the engine class, I guess, from 50 all the way up into mirror mode in here. But you can also independently select if you want the computer AI to be easy, normal, or hard. So you can tailor that experience more to you. Like, maybe you like playing in mirror mode, or like playing the speed of 150cc in general, but you don't want the computers to be that hard. You can turn them down. You have options there. And you can even turn on teams, which means that the races are based, like the scoring is based on everyone's total score on your team, rather than just everyone independently. So you could totally get in first, but then all of your teammates get, in last near the end of the race, and you might still get screwed over by the scoring system there. It's an interesting idea, just that it can be a little bit more of a cooperative thing and doesn't rely so much on just your performance, and it makes you have to look out for other people and all that, whatever. It's a different option. That's basically Versus, but maybe you just want to go and check out all the tracks and try to just do some real solid driving. For that, they have time trials in this one as well, where you can race against yourself and try to compete for the best times. You can race against ghost characters of your previous times or someone else's best times. And use that to try and, master the tracks. You get 2 boosts, 2 mushrooms for boosts. You can choose to use those however you'd like to try and get the best overall time and the best lap time you possibly can. And those scores are all recorded on your DS in a separate section. So that helps you kind of learn tracks and work on those and all that stuff. Just straight driving. But then again, maybe you just feel like you want to go in and just hit people with a bunch of shells and banana peels. You just want to rough some people up. Well, there's battle mode in here, and it's like you would expect from the other games in the series. Where you're put into these arena-like, there's 6 tracks, like these arena-like, I guess levels you would call. They're not really tracks per se. And you're put into these 6, one of these 6 things. You can do the options here as well, if for things like your different teams, and you can change if it's just free play, like you end whenever you want to, or based on a number of wins. Free for all our teams, you can choose the computer AI, and you can choose if you want to do the courses in order, if you want to choose them, or if you just want them to be done at random. So you still have some options there as well. There are 2 different battle modes. There is Balloon Battle and Shine Runners. Balloon Battle is basically like you'd expect. It's like it is basically like in Mario 64 in a lot of ways, where the main concept is that everyone has balloons attached to them, and you're trying to use the items to knock other people's balloons off by hitting them. And once all your balloons are gone, you lose. The difference here is that instead of, everyone still has a maximum, they can have a maximum of 3 on them at a time, but they only start with 1 on them. However, you can inflate other balloons, because you're given these, a certain number of deflated balloons, which you can see on the top of your screen, and you have to inflate those to get them. And to do that, you have to not be driving, you have to not be hitting, holding A, and either blow into the mic or hold the select button, and then it inflates your balloon. I mean, basically, that's the thing where it's like, you have to, not be moving and try to inflate your balloons. And regardless if you have uninflated balloons or not, if you lose all of your balloons that are currently inflated, then you're out. So it still works the same way in that respect, but it's a bit of a different, mix-up on that idea. And the other mode, Shine Runners, is basically you're going around collecting these Shine Sprites, which are the iconic collectible from Super Mario Sunshine. And they make a nice noise, and they're very easy to see. You'll want to collect them when you see them. You drive through those and collect them, and then, of course, hitting someone with Shine Sprites will have them dropping some of them, and they scatter around. You have to go try to pick them up again. So that's kind of the give and take with that, is that you're constantly trying to keep yours and also collect more. And every so often a timer comes up periodically, and once that timer runs out, then it eliminates everyone with the lowest amount of Shine Sprites until the end, when, of course, the last person standing has the most Shine Sprites when the timer hits 0 and they end up winning. So again, they're both still last man standing battles, just two different ways of doing them. And the one other mode here, which is actually the one I really want to talk about, is the mission mode. It's unique to Mario Kart DS. As far as I know, no other Mario Kart game has a mission mode, where basically you can go into these. There are 6 levels, and within each level there are 8 courses or stages, or whatever you want to say. However you want to classify them, there's 8 different missions in each level, I guess. And these missions are a variety of different things using the Mario Kart mechanics. I mean, some of them are simple, like, things like just doing certain skills, like trying to do a certain number of power slides in a lap, or, driving through these rings in order, collecting coins, simple stuff like that to improve your accuracy and your skills a bit. And some of them are a little different in that they have things like trying to drive through courses backwards, trying to hit a bunch of enemies with items, and there's just all kinds of weird stuff you can do. And depending on how well you do, you'll get a rank. There's rank C is the lowest, and then it's B, A, 1 star, 2 stars, and then 3 stars is the best. And you can complete all of the missions in a level, then it unlocks the boss of that level. And there are boss battles in there where you use Mario mechanics to fight bosses, whether it's using boosts to knock them around or throwing bombs at them. There's all kinds of different ways they use the mechanics in order to actually fight bosses in the game as well. And there are actually, if you get your overall rank up, which basically in each level, the overall rank of that level is based on your lowest rank in any given mission. So if you can get all of your levels up to 1 star rank at least, you'll then unlock a bonus 7th level. So there's that to look forward to as well. And I mean, that's pretty much mission mode. There's also the other couple of modes, and just other things I want to bring up here. There's multiplayer stuff that I really couldn't try out because the online multiplayer, which that's cool that was a feature, it doesn't seem to work anymore. I believe they shut down the servers for the DS and the Wii, and I was playing on a 3DS, so I don't know. If there's a way to do it, it's not simple, or doesn't, it's not something I could figure out, because I tried to do it, it just didn't work. You can also, I'm pretty sure you can probably still do local multiplayer, because I think you can do it with or without the, both of you having the game also. Again, not entirely sure if it works with 3DS systems, but I would imagine it does, and I would imagine that kind of functionality would still work if they still had it, but I don't know. So unfortunately I can't really speak on the multiplayer. It seems like it would probably be pretty fun, since it'd be the same stuff with other people, but who knows. At least it was there at one time, if nothing else, I guess. And the other stuff, like, there's some options. You can look at your records, you can go in and change your name in the game, so how you appear to other people. And the other thing is that you can go and create an emblem, like you have this grid and you can do different colors and basically pixel by pixel create an emblem that you can put on your vehicles. You can toggle it on and off if you want, but you can have it cover up the standard, character emblem on all of the vehicles and just have it be your own thing. So that's also a little thing you can do. And as far as like general gameplay is concerned too, it just feels like it's a more balanced game. It's more in this thing of like there's some spectacle in using items on other characters and having some cool looking stages, but it also still feels like it's very grounded in being a good racer. If you're getting a lot of lucky items, that's not necessarily going to be enough to make you get into first place. You really, and if you get, knocked over by some pretty rough luck with some other people with items, you can still come back from it with, good racing skills if you know the tracks well enough and you know how to handle your character and everything. So I do think there's a good balance there, and I mean, this is really starting to, get into the positives of the game. And I like that balance. I like that it's not so harsh on the difficulty curve, and there's not as much of a learning curve as like Double Dash. It's more simplified than that. Controls pretty well with the controls on this too. Actually, with you hold A to go, you hit L to use your weapons, and then you hit R to do the hops and drifts, and B to brake. You can tap the bottom screen to switch between like there's the main view is just like showing you an overhead view basically, or a representation of it, so you can see racers if they're behind you, and you can see if items are coming up right behind you. You see a little bit of a view from behind your cart, and you can tap that to toggle it between that and just an overall track view to keep track of everyone and and where they're located on the track. And you steer with the D-pad, but I was playing on the 3DS, so I just used the thumbstick instead, because it was more comfortable to do that. So that's more of a thing with the the layout of the 3DS and the fact that I don't really care for the D-pad that much on there. Maybe it's better on the DS, I don't know. Can't really say for that one. But yeah, I like that it feels very balanced, it's easy to control, and I like that they did a good job with the tracks where, again, there's some spectacle with the tracks and the items, but it doesn't feel like you're getting bullshitted with crazy items. There's no more special items. Like in Double Dash, nobody has a special item, so you can basically be any character and you're all using the same tools. It's just that different characters have different stats and carts available to them and such. So you have to kind of play around with that and what works. And I really liked that actually too, is like how, like, this was one of the first Mario Kart games where it mattered to me which character I was, because different characters have different stats and different carts available with their own stats, and it was, some tracks, like, I need to be able to turn a lot more, so I'm going to focus more on handling, but other times it's like, well, okay, I can't keep up with the pack in these tracks, so I might have to be somebody who has more speed and acceleration, and just, like, things like that are it's kind of neat that it actually made me think about it and actually switch up my racers and my playstyle a bit, rather than just finding the one racer I wanted to be and having it not really matter, anyways, and just playing, just as well with anyone, really. So that was a neat little addition to that. And they tweaked a few of the things, too, to make it feel a little more balanced with the items. I feel like the red shell has been tweaked really well, in that it's, like, because before the red shell, like in Double Dash, it had the thing where like you would throw it and it would still kind of like follow the track if someone's really far ahead, so that it doesn't just get wasted like in 64. But then like it still does that here, and the thing is, like, it's harder to get away from it, because usually red shells are meant to take out people that are really far ahead. And a lot of times what would happen is that people will get a really good lead, and they'd have enough time to keep getting more item boxes in first place, so that they can either throw out, hold a fake item box behind them, or a banana peel, or maybe a green shell or something. and then a red shell would just hit that, and then they would be fine, and then it would just stay in the lead forever. And in here, I think they balance that a bit because you're not just automatically safe because you're holding something behind you. Like the fake item box, as far as I can tell, doesn't actually stop the red shell anymore when you're holding it. You'd have to time your release of it behind you so that the red shell would collide with the setup box. So you have to actually use some skill to keep that shell off of you. Also, as in it's safer to thwart it that way because sometimes the shell can come up, like if someone shoots it and it shoots up next to you with all its velocity and then kind of like goes to the side and hits you, it'll like go to the side and like hit you like on the side, or if you're turning, even if you have something behind you, it'll hit you on like at an angle because you're turning, and it'll still hit you. So it just makes it so that you're not totally impenetrable, you don't have an impenetrable defense just because you're holding, fucking banana peels behind you. That's, I don't know, I like that. They made it feel a little more balanced with that. And at the same time, they also made it so that you can't just sit on a really good item and try to get ahead and then use that when you want to, because whenever you get hit, you lose your items. So it really has this thing of like, should you try to hold on to it and risk losing this and just totally wasting it, or should you use the item and then try to get more items to keep using? It's an interesting give and take in the dynamic there. I like that you can do team stuff. I think that's really cool, just to make it feel like more of a cooperative experience in things, and it's just an interesting, different way to try and play the game. And red shells do not discriminate when you're playing team battles either, like battles or races or whatever, because I was doing the battle mode and it was like, I would shoot the red shell, but sometimes I would shoot it and I would not shoot it in a good area, and it would just go and hit people on my team. Even though it's my red shell, it still hurts them, so you have to be careful. You can't just use it and like, it's like, I'll just let it go and it'll do the thing I want it to. It's not a noob's best friend anymore, I guess is what I'm saying. And also the blue shell rate in general has gone way down. I didn't see nearly as many blue shells in this one, so I think that's good that they fixed the rate of those. They're not super common anymore, which I feel like they really were in Double Dash. And speaking of the battle mode thing, I like the battle mode a lot too. I like the balloon battle mechanic thing is kind of neat. Like, you have to figure out, like, okay, well, do I want to, like, hide out here and try to inflate my balloons? Am I going to be safe to stop here and do this now? And, like, if you get hit, you still have that vulnerability period to try and get away instead of just being completely rolled with your lack of balloons before you inflate more. And that's just an interesting dynamic of, like, trying to figure out, like, when and where is the best to try to inflate those other balloons that you have. Do you want to try to do that, or do you want to be more aggressive and like risk losing more balloons, and being more vulnerable? I don't know, it's a give and take there. Shine Runners is also a really cool one because I really like Shine Runners in that, I mean, it's simple, but also it's like you have to be aggressive, and you also have to be evasive, because you need to be aggressive in order to get shines out of people who are ahead of you and then to go and grab them, but you also have to be evasive in order to keep all of your shines. So you can't just do one or the other. You really have to balance both of those things, which I think is great for like a battle mode. Like the tracks in general, I think there's a good number of tracks. They handled them well. Like the retro tracks, I feel like are done in a way that make them really look and still kind of feel like the tracks they used to be, without, like they didn't add a whole bunch of crazy shit to them, but they just happen to, be fit to work with this game's mechanics. So they do still work differently because of that, but not really because of what they're doing. And the game itself, like the music is very Mario Kart. It sounds like very much like a Mario Kart game. The visuals I like. I like the kind of like, I mean, they look kind of like an updated N64 game almost. It's cool. And it runs actually surprisingly well for a game that's trying to do all this 3D stuff on, the DS, and it's smooth. I don't remember having any lag issues or anything, any slowdown at all. So it's pretty awesome in that regard as well. I mean, I gotta say, like, mission mode, like I brought it up, that's awesome. It's still like the only game, I think, in the Mario Kart series to have a mission mode. And it's such a cool, unique feature that makes the game worth getting even now. Even if you think it's outshined by, other installments in one way or another, be it skill or spectacle or multiplayer or whatever, The mission mode is still very unique to this, and it's just awesome how they've taken Mario Kart mechanics and been able to just use them in a different way, in a more interesting way. They've played around with the mechanics, and it works. It's fun. Like, I can't even believe they were able to make boss fights out of Mario Kart mechanics, but they did, and they work well. It's cool. I really like it. I can barely believe that this is even a thing too. It's awesome, and I don't know why it hasn't come back. I mean, they're super fun. There's just with all the tracks and the modes and the options. There's just absolutely a ton of shit to do in this game, and it's great for play value and replay value. It's awesome, and I think it's actually at a pretty reasonable price. But of course, I don't want to try to gloss over negative sides. I don't have a lot, to say bad about it. A lot of it's nitpicking. Of course, the fact that it's difficult to play multiplayer on it sucks. The online doesn't work anymore. You can't really blame the game too much for that, but that is a sad truth about the game. Like doing local co-op stuff or local multiplayer, I haven't tried it. I assume it still works, but even if it does, like, there's still not the same kind of feeling as both playing on the same screen, and on TV and something. It's just still a different kind of experience. So the multiplayer probably wouldn't be as great anyways, but I can't say for sure. Again, the controls, I can't speak too much for that because I played on a 3DS as opposed to trying to play with a DS. Using the pad on the 3DS like you would with a DS kind of sucks because the pad is so much lower, so it's awkward to hit the L button. I don't know. One complaint I think is that people might not want to do, like, it doesn't take advantage of the fact that it's a DS game that much. You can use both screens, I guess. There's that. But that information could have been displayed elsewhere, I think. Other than, like, the overhead view. And, like, you don't really use the touch controls at all, so I guess people might kind of complain about that. I'd understand that. If you really like the DS4 touch controls, that'd be a thing that doesn't really do. I think the balloon battle is a little hindered for, trying to blow up your balloons and shit, because then you have to waste time blowing up your balloons, and then you have to keep doing a thing like you have to keep stopping and breaking the pace. And it's an interesting idea, but you have to break the pace of the battle a lot just to inflate more balloons. And that can be incredibly frustrating. Also, it doesn't really explain that mode very well, because it does say you need to blow up your balloons by blowing into the mic. It does not mention that you're not supposed to be holding A when you try to do it, so I was confused as to why it wasn't working. They also didn't tell you that you can hold select to do so instead, which I hear is slower, but depending on how much your mic, like how loud you are, or like how much your mic picks you up, or how much of it, if it cuts in or out or something, at that rate, it's probably much safer to just do the consistent rate of holding select to do it instead, I would guess. Also, if you're out and about, you don't want to be that dipshit who's blown into your handheld while, you're trying to play Mario Kart. People are going to look at you like you're a fucking weirdo. So I feel like they could have explained that better, and overall it's a little bit of an annoying mechanic. Though it does make an interesting, piece to the gameplay, an interesting little twist. I think it's more annoying, and it probably should just be simpler like it used to be instead. That's just my 2 cents on that. And I don't know, I mean, time trials I don't really care for, but that's just because I don't really care for the time trials. It's fine that they're there, especially for people who want to do those or just explore the tracks and shit, but I don't mind that the mode's there, I just don't really need it. Also, the AI, especially like in mirror mode, I noticed the AI is, they're assholes. They do the rubber banding thing where I was doing like boosts, and then like they would still just be just as far behind me right after doing a bunch of boosts, which was bullshit, and I don't really like that. And it's not super terrible in this game, but it's definitely a thing, and it feels like a bit of an unfair challenge to be put up against at times. Also, the ranking system, that's another one that's confused me, where like when you're doing standard like Grand Prix races, you get a ranking, and it's like, I've had races where I totally don't even win, and I get a decent rank, but then I have ones where like I come in first and my rank is horrible. So I don't know if it's based on, how many points I have, or how fast I go, or just how generally well I do, like how many times I'm hit or something. A combination of those. It'd be nice if the game told me. And especially for the ranking in mission mode, I'd like to know what exactly I have to do to get a better rank in those, because I feel like it's important in those And also the idea of going, CBA 1 star, 2 star, 3 star is silly. Why not just have it all be letters or all be stars? I don't know. It's just weird to have the ranking system. I guess it's good to try and get your ranks up for that, but not understanding what gets you those ranks is the issue. So, like that's kind of a problem. Maybe that should be implemented, and otherwise the ranks feel a little bit random at times. And like, I guess I did this well this time because the game said so. Ugh. That's the game. I think I saw the European one and it had cooler cover art than this. It had like Mario on it. I don't know. But yeah, overall, this is a really good game. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised. I thought Mario Kart DS is going to be okay. It's not going to be anything. It looks like it would probably be kind of fun, but kind of silly. And especially after playing Mario Kart 7, I was like, how is this going to measure up? And it's a very good game. It's done in a really good way. It's a great alternative, I think, to something like Mario Kart Wii or Mario Kart Double Dash. If you're looking for more straightforward racing, as well as also having it be more about your skill, while still being a fun game with the Mario Kart elements, it's a good mixture. It does a lot of stuff really well. It's just, overall in the series, still a really solid game. Plus it has the unique mission mode that's still worth getting it for, just for that whole single player experience of the mission mode. It's really cool, and I really think you should check it out just for that. If you have a DS or a 3DS, it's great to have on the go. It's a great game to just pick up and play whenever. Great replayability. You have all these options for just doing shit with it, and I mean it's cool. I think it's actually pretty cheap. I think I maybe got this for 20 or less or something. You could probably find it for 15 to 20 bucks, but even if you find it for like 25 or something, it's if you're a Mario Kart fan, it's a good value. It's one where I think you're really going to enjoy it because it does work really well with the mechanics and the controls and everything. It's all done very well, and I guess it's just a solid game with a few unique things about it that it's just definitely worth playing. It's one where I don't think you can say that while other ones might do certain aspects better, this one does so many of them well by itself that it's definitely one of the best ones. So check it out. What was your favorite track in this game? What was your favorite racer? What was your favorite kart? What did you make for an emblem? Leave all that stuff in the comments. That could be fun. And I don't know mine because I didn't think of them beforehand. I just thought of the questions now. Although my favorite racer is still Luigi. I love me the Luigi man. It's that's just me. So I will see you in some other review or something. I don't know.